Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Quick update. What if Dragon Deck user in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal and What If Reborn as a Goku clone will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Gacha system in Modern Family World? What if Fusion Deck user in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX? What if Transmigrated in One Piece and becoming a Marine? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top 2 picks and start working on those 2 series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 161, Squat Down Quietly. After the battle, both Dylan and Lily didn't leave immediately. Instead, they stayed for a while longer at Clay's invitation. In the guest room, Lacey was holding the beautiful and delicate Rhoda badge, admiring it from every angle with great joy, perfectly embodying what it means to be blissfully silly. She couldn't help it, this was a badge she earned from gym leader Dylan. It was the result of enduring a beating. Moreover, this was only the second newly issued Rhoda badge, meaning only 2 people in the world had one, including her. Lacey was beyond thrilled. Once she got back, she planned to make it into a bracelet to wear every day. Dylan, have you really not considered switching regions? Alder enthusiastically approached again, sitting down beside Dylan. He couldn't help it. He was really drawn to Dylan. As long as you're willing to come to Unova, I'll talk to the chairman tomorrow and hand over the champion title to you. You can be Unova's champion. Alder offered without hesitation. Our Unova isn't inferior to Kanto at all. We have the Elite Four, and the Unova gym leaders are top-notch in strength. Not to mention, we have the Blueberry Academy, which nurtures excellent elites. Also, I can tell you, this year I've encountered quite a few promising champion-level talents. Iris from the Village of Dragons has been improving rapidly, and she's likely to reach champion level soon. I also met 2 talented rookie girls during my travels, and their potential is exceptional. They're future champions for sure. As long as you come and lead Unova's trainers, surpassing other regions is absolutely possible. Alder spoke with great enthusiasm, and he wasn't exaggerating. The competitive training at Blueberry Academy was indeed outstanding, with Lacey being a prime example. I deeply appreciate your offer, Champion Alder, but I'll need to think it over. For now, I haven't really considered changing regions. But if I ever do, I'll definitely reach out to you, Dylan politely declined. Lily covered her mouth, giggling. Look at her brother's charm, Unova's champion was practically begging to give up his title. Ah, alright then. But Dylan, development is development, no matter where you are, right? And Unova is a land of talented people. Plus, you've already captured Reshiram and Kuram. What does that tell you? It means you're destined to be connected to Unova. It's fate. Alder said passionately, trying to emphasize Dylan's potential link to Unova. Maybe so, Dylan replied tactfully, going along with Alder's sentiment. After all, Alder meant well, he was only thinking about Unova. By the way, Lacey, I heard Blueberry Academy and Orange Academy are planning joint events? Dylan asked, trying to steer the conversation away from Alder's sales pitch. Yes. Almost every year, Blueberry Academy and Orange Academy co-organize a summer camp in Northfields, Lacey answered after thinking for a moment, knowing this from her time at Blueberry Academy. The summer camp should be happening soon. Gym leader Dylan, are you interested? Lacey asked curiously. To be honest, when I first became interested in becoming a trainer, I also attended a Pokemon school for a while, Dylan said with a smile. But then my dad suddenly decided to take my mom on a honeymoon trip and left the gym to me, even though I had only been in school for a short time. It was a bit like being thrown into the deep end, but fortunately, it seems I had some talent as a trainer, Dylan continued, humbly downplaying his rapid rise. Alder and Clay couldn't help but feel a bit embarrassed. Some talent? Really? Gym leader Dylan is amazing. Lacey couldn't help but feel genuine admiration. From student to gym leader in such a short time, and now Rota Gym was one of the most famous gyms in Kanto, all in less than 4 months. I guess I've just been lucky, Dylan said modestly. Luck, and the help of a system that provided too many advantages. Without it, even if he could maintain the Rota Gym, he wouldn't have achieved this level of success so quickly. Not to mention, without the system, he wouldn't have been able to rise this fast. After chatting a bit longer with Alder, Clay, and Lacey, Dylan and Lily finally left the Driftvale Gym and returned to their hotel to rest. Good night, brother. Good night. In the hotel suite, after exchanging goodnights with Lily, Dylan headed to his room, freshened up, and got ready for bed. Northfields? I really should prepare for that, Dylan thought. He'd need to make time to visit the place. After all, lonely widows are quite adorable. And if he could capture Pekarunt, that would be ideal. As long as Necrozma could suppress Pekarunt, everything would be fine. As for the 3 treasures, Dylan couldn't help but click his tongue at the thought of them bullying Pekarunt when they first revived in the game. Honestly, these 3 are such nasty characters. Dylan figured they were better off staying underground, sleeping for a while longer. Another night passed in the growth simulation. The next morning at 8 a.m., Dylan woke up on time. Now that the Alola region was cleared, he had to choose the next region to challenge. Speaking of the most suitable region, it would have to be Galar from the 8th generation. Because in the 8th generation, Pekarunt could be captured during the first playthrough. But Dylan was still undecided. Now that he had Ultra Necrozma and Kyurem, he was already practically invincible. His need for Pekarunt wasn't particularly urgent. He was more inclined to complete the 4th generation Sinnoh region, which was undoubtedly the most special among all generations. Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, and Arceus. The creator god, Arceus, aside, even the 3 Sinnoh legends were special. There are very few Pokemon that are truly referred to as gods, but the 4th generation was different. It was the only one where the official lore explicitly confirmed the existence of true gods. That is, Arceus and the Sinnoh trio it created. Before the universe was born, only it existed, breathing alone. Where the universe began, so too did it. When the universe was born, its shards became the plates. These are the inscriptions on the stone plates, the odd keystone, insect plate, and earth plate. But the most striking is the inscription on the mythic plate. It watches over Pokemon and people in all universes. The one true god of the Pokemon world, Arceus. Dylan wasn't sure if clearing the Sinnoh region would allow him to obtain Arceus, but even if he couldn't, capturing the Sinnoh trio would be just as great. In comparison to Pekarunt, the Sinnoh trio definitely feels more appealing, Dylan mused while brushing his teeth. Pekarunt could still be captured in reality, so he wasn't in a rush. But the Sinnoh trio was different. In reality, the Sinnoh trio governed time, space, and the distortion world. Forcibly capturing them could impact the world. Even if he did capture them, it wouldn't make sense to keep them with him, as they were needed to maintain the balance of time and space. It was much safer and more practical to bring them out from the growth simulation. Completing the Sinnoh region might also unlock information about Hisui. Hisui was the ancient version of the Sinnoh region, and Dylan was certain that Hisui was connected to Sinnoh. Perhaps completing Sinnoh would unlock the Hisui region as well. Once the Hisui region was unlocked, Dylan would have a chance to fulfill the preconditions for capturing Arceus. At least, that's how it worked in the game, though Dylan wasn't entirely sure if it would work the same way in the growth simulation. Still, choosing the Sinnoh region felt like the right decision. Alright, the 3rd region will be Sinnoh. Dylan made up his mind. Dylan and Lily, who had also gotten up, finished freshening up and went to have breakfast. Today, they were preparing to return to the Kanto region. When they stepped outside the hotel, the sky was still dark, but there was a faint glimmer of light. Outside Driftvale City, Dylan threw out Reshiram's Pokeball. While Kyurem could also be ridden, Kyurem's body was too rigid, and sitting on it for a long time made your butt hurt. Plus, the cold it emitted wasn't good for one's health after prolonged exposure. Riding the white dragon was much more comfortable, and its feathers were soft enough. Dylan and Lily mounted the white dragon and flew towards Mistralton City, where their plane was booked. The past few days felt like a dream, Lily said, sitting in front of Dylan, looking down at the faintly illuminated city below. It all seemed a bit surreal to her. This trip to Unova had been too thrilling for her. Her brother had captured Reshiram, then challenged Kyurem and was relentlessly pursued by it. Afterward, Necrozma absorbed all the light from the Unova region, transforming into Ultra Necrozma, and finally, her brother captured Kyurem. Could a young lady from the Ether Foundation like her have ever imagined experiencing such things? Then keep this experience deep in your heart, Dylan said with a smile. Maybe when you look back on it in the future, you'll savor it. Big brother, you're amazing. Lily replied, nodding adorably. Her sweet voice was full of admiration. Yes, right now, Lily really admired her big brother. I'll gladly accept Lily's praise, but for now, we've got guests coming. Dylan glanced at the dark sky and the gathering storm clouds ahead, a slight smile tugging at his lips. Lily blinked in surprise and followed his gaze. The sky was already gray, so it was hard to make out the large dark cloud ahead. However, the flickering blue lightning arcs within the cloud were something she could easily recognize. That peculiar cloud made Lily instantly think of Zekrom. Dylan, it's the aura of the black dragon, just up ahead, Reshiram's ethereal telepathic voice echoed in both Dylan and Lily's minds, brimming with excitement and anticipation. They've come quicker than I expected. It looks like Getsus is in a hurry, Dylan scoffed, giving Reshiram a pat. Take us down, they're probably waiting for us. Reshiram understood, quickly descending and landing on the ground. Dylan and Lily dismounted from Reshiram and looked ahead. Getsus, dressed in his ornate outfit, stood before them, accompanied by N. Behind them stood Kores, wearing his signature white coat. At the same time, plasma team members began emerging from all directions, surrounding Dylan, Lily, and Reshiram. These were Plasma Team's elite forces. TCH 3 generations of Plasma Team leaders. Quite the grand entrance, Dylan muttered in amazement. After all, these three individuals had each taken the role of Plasma Team's leader at different points in both the black and white timelines. Kid, I didn't expect you to be the hero of the legendary Dragon of Truth. But this works out just fine. Once I take you down, no one will stand in the way of our ideals, Getsus growled, his expression dark as he eyed the white dragon, Reshiram, beside Dylan. Ha! It seems like the prison food in Osiris messed with your head, Getsus. I never thought you'd be this foolish, Dylan smirked, his mocking tone causing Getsus's expression to darken further. If it were just N and his Zekrom, I'm sorry to say, but you guys might want to start preparing yourselves for the fine cuisine at the Unova League prison. Dylan took out a crimson premier ball, toying with it as he spoke. You insolent brat. Still so arrogant. Getsus exploded with rage. This guy had been just as cocky last time, and now, even surrounded by Plasma Team, he was still acting this way. Arrogant? Dylan chuckled as if he'd just heard a great joke. Getsus, how arrogant must you be to come seeking revenge without even understanding who you're dealing with, rushing here with your men? Getsus froze for a moment, while N furrowed his brow, remaining silent. Koresa's expression flickered slightly. He glanced at Dylan, then at Getsus and N, and discreetly took a few steps away from them. What do you mean by that? For the first time, Getsus felt something was wrong. It had been the same back in Osiris City. This guy had been equally overconfident back then. And the result? Getsus had been easily defeated by Dylan and handed over to Officer Jenny. But this time, he had N with him. Oh, nothing much. I just wanted to show you all something impressive, Dylan grinned, his teeth flashing sinisterly in the dim light. The unsettling atmosphere made even the Plasma Team members feel a bit nervous. With that, Dylan hurled the premier ball high into the sky. Roar! A deafening dragon's roar shattered the silence of the sky, and a massive grey dragon landed heavily behind Dylan, exuding an overwhelming and savage aura. Anne's pupils contracted, and the blue lightning in the storm cloud ahead suddenly ceased. This is... Getsus stammered in disbelief, while Claressa's eyes twitched violently, causing him to step even further away from Getsus and N. In the dim light, the black-clad youth stood with a serene smile. The Dragon of Truth stood proudly at his right, while the strongest dragon on land loomed behind him. What an awe-inspiring sight! Well then, I'll ask one more time. Will you kindly drop your pokeballs, put your hands on your heads, and squat down quietly? Dylan's mocking tone cut through the tension as he glanced around at the stunned plasma team members, finally focusing on Getsus's grim face. Or, do you intend to resist someone who possesses both Kyurem and Reshiram? Chapter 162, You. Are we surrounded by Team Plasma? No. Lily's eyes sparkled as she looked at the black-clad young man exuding an unparalleled aura. Despite her upbringing as an educated lady, she couldn't find the right words to describe the excitement she felt. Brother, you're amazing. Lily. Yes, brother. Call Champion Alder and ask him to bring officers to take these people away. Dylan handed his phone to Lily, keeping his gaze fixed on Getsus and N. This is just perfect. I was planning to leave Unova soon, and yet here comes such a delightful surprise. Got it. Lily felt it was her duty. She grabbed the phone, quickly navigated to Alder's number, and dialed. Hello? Champion Alder? This is Lily. My brother has surrounded Team Plasma single-handedly. Can you send Officer Jenny and her team to handle this? How many? I'd say there are about 20 to 30 members here. Lily glanced around, roughly estimating the number. Meanwhile, on Getsus's side. Father, that's Kyurem. Anne was stunned. That grey dragon, there was no mistaking it. It was Kyurem. But how? How could Dylan have captured Kyurem? It didn't make sense. Just yesterday, Kyurem was chasing Dylan and Reshiram. If not for N and Zekrom being lured away, Reshiram might not have survived. But today, Kyurem was Dylan's Pokemon? N couldn't comprehend it. Getsus's face darkened, his fury palpable. Of course, he recognized Kyurem, it was a crucial part of his plan. But that plan wasn't supposed to start yet. N, go and defeat Reshiram and Kyurem. Father? N was genuinely shocked by his adoptive father's command. What made Getsus think he could defeat Kyurem, let alone Reshiram? Zekrom barely escaped with its life yesterday. What's wrong? I raised you to fulfill this idealistic path, and now our greatest obstacle stands before us. Are you going to back down, N? Getsus's frustration was mounting, his eyes boring into N. Faced with Getsus's absurd command, N fell silent. N. Are you going to disappoint me like this? Father, even Zekrom is no match for Kyurem. We need to retreat. N pressed his lips together, trying to reason with Getsus. Silence. N, you are the king of Team Plasma. How can you say such things? Getsus was livid, enraged by N's perceived betrayal. N's silence deepened. He couldn't understand how the once wise Getsus had become so irrational. Kores, observing the scene, stifled a laugh. Getsus was losing it, and N wasn't much better, trying to reason with someone whose mind was clearly unhinged. Should I try to sneak away? Kores pondered, adjusting his glasses. But no, Reshiram and Kyurem were watching them closely. Any attempt to flee would likely provoke an attack. For now, he decided to wait and see. Have you two finished your argument yet? Dylan's voice interrupted their tense exchange. If you want to keep arguing, you can do it in jail. You can even fight each other there. Dylan's casual tone made Getsus's face twitch with fury. Champion Alder will be here soon to take over. What a pity, I was planning to wipe out your entire organization someday, but you delivered yourselves right to my doorstep. Reshiram. Ruor. Reshiram's majestic cry echoed as it soared into the sky. Black Dragon! Fight me to the death. Today, I'll show you what truth is. Though most couldn't understand Reshiram's roar, Dylan and N heard it loud and clear. While N looked grim, Dylan found the truth-driven dragon's antics amusing. Reshiram dove into the storm clouds, searching for Zexal. Kuram, Dylan called out. Roar! Kuram's bellow shook the earth as icy energy radiated from its body, frost spreading rapidly. Team Plasma members, realizing the danger, either released their Pokémon or cautiously retreated. Take it easy. Just incapacitate them, Dylan instructed. Kuram unleashed a radiant icy shockwave glaciate. The freezing energy spread like a tidal wave, enveloping everything in its path. Within seconds, the entire area was transformed into a frozen wasteland. So terrifying. Lily clung to Dylan's sleeve, seeking comfort as she stared at the frost-covered landscape. The once proud plasma grunts were now frozen solid, their expressions locked in fear. Even their Pokémon were encased in ice. What a chilling sight! Dylan caught a falling snowflake, his amused gaze fixed on Getsus. You! Getsus glared, trembling with rage. N! Are you just going to stand there? Use Zexal to defeat him. Getsus was desperate, his plan crumbling before his eyes. Father, please retreat. I'll hold him off, N tried to persuade him, knowing Zexal stood no chance. But Dylan cut in, his tone light yet menacing. There's no need to decide. Neither of you is leaving here today. There's no need to discuss further. I can responsibly tell you both, you aren't going anywhere. Dylan clicked his tongue. Coming right to the door and still thinking about leaving? What a joke. Suddenly, Reshiram's telepathy came through. Dylan, I can't find the black dragon. ? Dylan froze and looked up at the sky. Reshiram emerged from the dark clouds, clearly having searched thoroughly within them but finding no trace of the black dragon. Seriously? The black dragon ran off this fast, abandoning its own chosen hero? Dylan's expression turned strange as he glanced behind at Kuram. There was no need to guess Zexal must have bolted so quickly because of Kuram's presence. Kuram? Kuram returned the look with a puzzled expression. What a shameless black dragon! Ashamed to even share the title of Dragon God, it actually abandoned the hero it chose and ran away. How does it deserve to be called a dragon god? Reshiram descended from the sky, cursing as it went. It had been planning to give Zexal a good thrashing today, but Zekram's utter lack of backbone was beyond belief. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Even I, the white dragon, have never stooped so low. N, where's your Zexal? N was silent. Evidently, he was well aware of Zekram's escape. As expected of you. Seeing this, Dylan raised an eyebrow. Clearly, the moment Kuram appeared, N had realized things wouldn't end well today and had Zexal leave in advance. No wonder the black clouds above had stopped flashing blue lightning for a while. It seemed the black dragon had hidden its presence and flown away long ago, even discarding the clouds it brought. Father, you must leave quickly, and urged his adoptive father once again. Then I'll leave it to you. Getsus's expression flickered with uncertainty, but he ultimately decided to retreat. You aren't going anywhere. Dylan. I won't let you harm my father. Oh. But even if I don't act, you still won't be able to leave, Dylan said with a smirk, raising an eyebrow at the stern-faced N. ? N froze. What did that mean? Take a look behind you, Dylan gestured at something behind N. When N turned around, he was completely stunned. 3 humanoid, insect-like Pokémon stood in a triangular formation, facing a pale-faced Getsus. These were Genesect, the ultimate ancient hunters revived and modified by Kolres. Getsus's face turned ghastly as he glared at Kolres, who stood behind the Genesect, wearing a faint smile. Kolres. Getsus's voice was practically squeezed out of his throat. What are you doing? Getsus roared. This Kores, using his machines, his laboratory, and the fossils he provided, was now turning the weapons he resurrected against him? What utter betrayal! I'm not doing anything, esteemed sage Getsus. Kores adjusted his glasses, his pristine white coat standing out starkly in the dim environment. His voice was calm but razor-sharp. As a man of justice aligned with the Unova League, how could I not apprehend you, the leader of an evil organization, upon encountering you? Do you see any issue with that? Kores. Getsus clutched his chest, his eyes burning red as he glared at Kores in rage. This guy. He was turning the tables at a time like this. Don't worry. I'll be sure to visit you in prison when I have the time, Sage Getsus, Kores sighed. Kores. I'll you, Bleg. Getsus couldn't hold it back anymore and spat out blood. Father. Oh dear, Sage Getsus, you really need to take care of your health. How could you cough up blood just like that? Kores spread his hands innocently. You all saw it, he did it himself. I didn't even touch him. Chapter 163, okay. Our esteemed plasma team founder, Sage Getsus, spat blood and fainted. Witnessing this, Dylan sighed at the treacherousness of the world, hoping Giratina would take Getsus away. But it seemed Giratina didn't handle such matters. Zekrom fled, Getsus fainted, Kores defected, and the plasma team's elites were all frozen. Thus, the plasma team's operation to surround and eliminate Dylan ended rather anticlimactically. Even Lily was left somewhat bewildered. Such a grand spectacle, and it was over just like that? Meanwhile, N abandoned all futile resistance. Although his Pokémon were still battle-ready, facing both Dylan and Kores was pointless. Indeed, Kores, I should never have let you come along in the first place. And pressed his lips together, his previously dull eyes now sharp, staring intently at Kores. He had always thought Kores was too enigmatic and unpredictable, a ticking time bomb. But since Kores had contributed significantly to the plasma team, and Getsus valued him highly, and had tolerated his presence. Yet, precisely because of this, Kores's betrayal today was utterly devastating. No, I should be thanking you, N. While you've certainly been helpful to me, we were merely using each other. Kores replied calmly. You needed my research results, and I needed the safe research environment you provided. That's all there is to it. Besides, with someone like Getsus in charge, the plasma team was bound to collapse sooner or later. I've had enough of living in hiding. Finding a better place to work is only logical, don't you think? Kores spoke with a calm and logical tone, feeling his reasoning was flawless. He owed the plasma team nothing and genuinely believed the team had no future. Anne's eyes returned to their usual lifeless state. With things laid out so plainly, there was nothing more to say. Honorable Dylan, this is our second meeting, isn't it? A pleasure. Kores stepped in front of Dylan, offering a slight bow with a faint smile. It is indeed our second meeting, but you've truly impressed me, Dr. Kores. That blow of yours even knocked Getsus unconscious. Dylan observed Kores with interest. Kores, known for his research into maximizing Pokémon power without reservation and his experiments with banned weapons to modify Pokémon, had earned the title of Dark Scientist. In Black and White too, Kores was even the leader of the plasma team, a true scientific genius. What's more astonishing is that Kores wasn't just exceptional in research, his skills as a trainer were at the champion level. A true prodigy, though labeling him as a villain would be simplistic. As depicted in the Pokémon Adventures manga, Black described Kores as not an evil person, just someone too pure and innocent. In the games, after being defeated by the protagonist, Kores realized the importance of bonds between Pokémon and trainers, decided to disband the plasma team, and shifted the focus of his research. Getsus, a foolish and arrogant man, was destined for such an end. Kores offered his unreserved assessment of Getsus. In Kores's view, Getsus's arrogance would inevitably lead him to ruin, if not today, then in the future. In comparison to Getsus, I believe Dylan, your future is bound to be brilliant. Kores glanced at Reshiram and Kuram behind Dylan. Receiving such high praise from Dr. Kores is truly delightful. Anyone with eyes can see that, Kores quipped with a dry joke. Consider this a gift for our meeting. Kores took out an Ultra Ball and handed it to Dylan. What's this? Dylan asked curiously as he accepted the ball. Genesect, revived from fossils by the Plasma team. A hunter from 300 million years ago, which I revived and modified. It's my proudest creation. Kores wore a faintly proud expression. You mean the 3 Pokemon you just used? Precisely. But the one I'm giving you is special. Not merely shiny, it's more like the king of its species. Its power far surpasses that of ordinary Genesect, but I trust you, Dylan, can handle it. A shiny Genesect, huh? Dylan's eyes gleamed, recalling the Genesect from the movie, which could even rival Mutwo Y in battle. This gift seems far too valuable, Dr. Kores. What's your angle? Dylan eyed Kores skeptically. Giving away a shiny Genesect? Who would believe Kores had no ulterior motives? Well, everyone knows Sylph Company is one of the world's most prominent corporations. As the heir to Sylph Company, your family's wealth is beyond question. If you could provide me with a research lab, I would be more than happy to work exclusively for you. Kores smiled. And don't worry about the League pursuing me. Having captured Ghetsis, my defection alone should be enough to clear my record. Surely, Dylan, you wouldn't mind? And this guy, he's planning to join my brother? Lily tilted her head, wrinkling her delicate nose slightly. Truthfully, she didn't trust Kores much. Smart people like him often had too many schemes. Ha, working exclusively for me, huh? Dylan raised an eyebrow. Kores's choice of words was deliberate, signaling that he only wished to follow Dylan, not anyone else. Well, it made sense. Given Kores's pride, even Sylph Company was merely rich in his eyes. Of course, I wouldn't mind. A genius like Dr. Kores willing to work for me is a rare opportunity. Without hesitation, Dylan extended his hand, smiling. The decision was easy. Kores was an unparalleled talent, a top-tier scientist and a capable fighter. For just some funding, securing the loyalty of a champion-level researcher was a bargain. It's an honor to serve you, Dylan. Kores shook Dylan's hand, naturally switching to a more respectful tone. Excellent. Today was truly a good day. He had secured a powerful backer. No longer would he lack research funding or a legitimate status. The future looked bright. Dylan, I still have 4 more Genesect. Do you want them? Kores produced 4 more Ultra Balls. Since he now worked for Dylan, there was no need to hold back. N stared at Kores. Defecting to his rival right in front of him was bad enough. But he had secretly revived 5 Genesect and only reported 2 to the organization? Truly infuriating. You're not keeping any for yourself? Dylan glanced at Kores. I'm a scientist, Kores replied, pushing up his glasses with a serious expression. Scientists also need protection. Dylan thought for a moment, then took 3 Ultra Balls, leaving 1 Genesect for Kores. After all, it originally belonged to him. Fair enough. Kores took back the final Genesect. Before long, Alder arrived with Chief Bertha and a group of officers. Dylan, are you all okay? Alder approached and froze when he saw Kores. Wasn't this a Plasma team member? We're fine. With Dr. Kores's help, we managed to capture N and Ghetsis. Dylan shook his head. It's been hard on all of you. Alder looked at N and the unconscious Kurum with a flash of joy on his face. This guy is none other than the leader of Team Plasma, N. Champion Alder, you're too kind. This is just part of what it means to be a member of the League. Ha ha ha, that may be so, but it's still different. Alder laughed heartily, patting Dylan on the shoulder. This time, Dylan, you've done something incredible. We can't even begin to thank you enough. Don't celebrate too soon, Champion Alder, Dylan shook his head. Although we did capture N, the Black Dragon, Zekrom, managed to flee at the very first moment.
You'll need to stay on guard. You mean Zekrom might come to rescue N? Alder's eyelid twitched. That did seem like a possibility. Not just a possibility, it's a certainty.
The black dragon is far too cunning, it escaped incredibly fast, Dylan pondered for a moment.
However, Champion Alder, you could have a good talk with N. To be honest, N isn't truly an evil person.
You could have daily heart-to-heart conversations with N, keep him and Getsus locked up together, and use some special methods to break Getsus's mindset.
Trust me, it'll work wonders. Dylan suggested to Alder.
Getsus, with his arrogant and overconfident personality, was also notoriously small-minded. If Getsus were made to endure some hardships behind bars and face a bit of mental torment, he would definitely crack under pressure.
Once his composure broke, he'd undoubtedly vent his frustrations on N.
This would make N utterly disappointed in him, allowing N to see the harsh truths of the world more clearly and come to a realization.
I understand, Alder nodded thoughtfully. I'll have N's background sent to you, Champion Alder. Once you've reviewed it, you'll know how to handle him. All right. Thank you so much, Dylan. You're too kind, Champion Alder. Not at all.
Dylan, you've been such a huge help this time.
Speaking of which, are you sure you don't want a girlfriend? Drasna has a fantastic figure, she even wears black stockings. Or what about Orchid?
She's such a sweet girl, and you two already know each other.
Champion Alder, Lily and I have a flight to catch, so we'll take our leave now. Dylan chuckled as he responded, then left with Lily.
As for Kilres, since he was once a wanted criminal in Unova, even though his massive contributions this time were enough to offset his crimes, some formalities still needed to be processed on the League's side.
Once Kilres's name was fully cleared, Dylan asked him to come to Rhoda Street to find him. Afterward, Dylan and Lily rode the White Dragon toward Mistralton City. Ha ha Dylan, you've really made me proud this time. Even Unova is reaching out to me. As expected of you. By the way, when will you arrive in Kanto? I'll personally book a table for you. Lance just happens to be here too. I've already told him about how you captured Reshiram. Lance is thrilled for you and wants to have a match with you. What do you think? Dylan read President Charles Goodsho's message and couldn't help but fall into thought. Lance wants to challenge me? If I battle Lance, should I use my Dragon team or my Ice Ninetales team? Chapter 164, Kanto. Viridian City. By the time Dylan and Lily left the airport, it was nearly dusk. They then rode on Reshiram toward the Indigo Plateau. The Indigo Plateau wasn't far from Viridian City.
Unlike in the games, the Indigo Plateau in reality had a sizable athletes' village, much like Silver Town for the Silver Conference, Lily Cove City for the Hoenn Grand Festival, or Lily of the Valley Island for the Sin-No League. Otherwise, where would the competitors and spectators stay during regional tournaments? It'd be a joke without proper accommodations. Roar! The majestic cry of the White Dragon echoed in front of the Indigo Plateau's athletes' village before it gracefully descended, flapping its wings. At the village entrance stood the short-statured President Charles Goodshow, hands clasped behind his back. Beside him was Lorelei, elegantly dressed in a professional suit. President, Lorelei. As the White Dragon landed, Dylan and Lily dismounted and greeted the two. Oh ha ha ha, Dylan. Welcome back to Kanto. President Goodshow warmly approached, though due to his height, he could only pat Dylan's arm. So this is Reshiram, the White Dragon? I can't believe it, it's even more beautiful than I imagined. President Goodshow gazed in awe at the elegant, pure White Dragon. Its flawless form exuded breathtaking beauty. My goodness! Such a gorgeous legendary dragon, it must be incredibly sacred and noble. Reshiram raised its head slightly, its azure dragon eyes gazing into the distant sky. Proud and aloof, it perfectly embodied its lofty demeanor. Lorelei adjusted her glasses, her eyes glimmering with intrigue at the sight of Reshiram, the legendary dragon of truth. To think that you actually gained the recognition of Reshiram, the dragon of truth. Dylan, you're truly remarkable. Lorelei couldn't help but marvel. This junior's excellence had exceeded her imagination. Dylan was already close to Mew, and now he had also gained Reshiram's acknowledgement.
I was just lucky.
Reshiram happened to choose me, Dylan replied humbly.
Hearing this, Reshiram raised its head even higher. That's right.
It was I who chose Dylan, not the other way around.
From every angle, it's flawless beauty. Dylan, why not have Reshiram leave behind some flames?
I've thought for a while now that Molter's flames don't really suit the Indigo League, Goodshow suggested with a grin.
But Reshiram isn't a Pokemon native to Kanto, right? Dylan asked, surprised. Who says? Dylan, you're from Kanto, and Reshiram is now your Pokemon. Therefore, it's part of Kanto. Doesn't that make it a Kanto Pokemon? President Goodshow declared righteously. You say Reshiram is the dragon god of Unova? Do you have proof? Reshiram is now Kanto's Pokemon, it's the dragon god of Kanto. Reshiram nodded in agreement, fully embracing its new identity.
Lorelei adjusted her glasses without expression, while Lily stood quietly, somewhat overwhelmed by the conversation.
Actually, that makes sense.
The Indigo League is Kanto's grandest event, so the sacred flame should represent Kanto, Goodshow concluded, setting the idea aside for the future.
Cheese.
Reshiram maintained its aloof pose as Goodshow stood in front of it, smiling brilliantly. A Rotom Pokédex captured their photo from every angle.
Wonderful, wonderful. That felt great. Let's go, Dylan. I've prepared a feast for you, Goodshow said, feeling completely content after the photoshoot.
Though Dylan knew Goodshow as a kind and affable elder from the anime, seeing him behave like a playful old-timer still made him chuckle. Yet, Dylan also understood that Goodshow was highly reliable when it came to serious matters. After recalling Reshiram, the group of four made their way into the athletes' village. Nestled at the foot of the Indigo Plateau, the village was quite prosperous and regularly attracted tourists. During the Indigo League, it was packed to capacity. Goodshow had reserved the best restaurant in the village to welcome Dylan back. Lance went out again this afternoon. He'll probably return later. Dylan, how was your trip to Unova? Goodshow asked with a smile once they entered a private room. Unova's culture is fascinating, and the league officials there were very hospitable. Champion Alder was particularly welcoming, Dylan replied warmly. Ha, Alder. What a shame. Let me guess, they want you to join Unova, don't they? Goodshow smirked knowingly. He didn't need to think twice to know that the Unova League was likely trying to recruit Dylan. With Reshiram now under Dylan's command, a legendary dragon from Unova's history had been claimed by someone from another region. That couldn't sit well with the Unova League. Champion Alder did hint at that, Dylan admitted tactfully. Don't pay them any mind. Let me guess, they even promised you the champion title, right? Goodshow chuckled. Dylan nodded slightly in response. Lorelei sneered. Unova is in decline, isn't it? Their dragon of ideals was awakened by a villainous organization. It speaks volumes. Although all regions were part of the Pokemon League, Lorelei didn't hide her irritation at Unova's attempt to poach talent. She held Dylan in high regard and wasn't about to let him go. You've done enough for them, Dylan. Capturing Plasma Team's leader in Sages was already a big help. If they couldn't awaken their dragon of truth, that's their problem, Lorelei stated bluntly. Lorelei's words may be harsh, but she's not wrong. Dylan, whatever Unova offered, Kanto will give you even more, Goodshow said gently. A regional champion wields significant influence, but given your abilities, even the title of Unova champion would undervalue you. If you're truly interested, defeating Lance could earn you the Kanto championship. Believe me, Dylan, only Kanto's title would be fitting for you, Goodshow said earnestly. I understand, Mr. President, but I'm content being a gym leader for now. I'm not currently interested in becoming a champion, Dylan replied. I see. By the way, I've been discussing with other regional league presidents the idea of hosting a global championship next year. It'll bring together the world's strongest trainers. I hope you'll participate, Goodshow said.
President Charles Goodshow paused for a moment. Since Dylan wasn't interested in becoming a champion, he decided not to press the matter further. Originally, in his mind, Dylan becoming the Kanto champion would allow him to transfer Lance to the soon-to-be-established Johto League to take the champion position. Even if Johto split off from Kanto, they would still be sister leagues, and it was natural to give them more support. The World Championship? Lily asked, surprised. It'll include all the strong trainers from around the world? Exactly. Though it's still just an idea for now, we believe it's doable. The World Championship will determine the strongest trainer in the world. President Charles Goodshow nodded and smiled as he spoke slowly. The World Championship, this could also be seen as a way to bring the faces of all regions into the spotlight and let them compete openly. But President Charles Goodshow wasn't worried in the slightest. He even felt that this World Championship was tailor-made for Kanto. Kanto's Elite Four were all champion level, and Lance was at the very top of that list. Now, Dylan had appeared out of nowhere, possessing both Reshiram and Kyurem. Wasn't he practically the undisputed world number one? That's right, President Charles Goodshow knew that Dylan had already captured Kyurem. This meant that, at the very worst, Dylan and Lance would make it into the top 10, and with some good fortune, maybe 3 or 4 Kanto trainers could squeeze into the top 10. Even Kenta and the others would surely make it into the top 20, right? Kanto would make its mark on the world. The whole world would feel the strength of Kanto. It was practically invincible. Thinking about that scene, President Charles Goodshow could feel himself grinning so wide that his beard seemed to stretch. It was exhilarating. Awesome. My big brother will definitely become world number one. Lily's eyes sparkled as she looked at her brother's handsome profile, mentally cheering him on. Her brother was definitely the strongest. She imagined her brother standing at the peak of the world, receiving the admiration and longing of everyone around the globe. Wow! He'd look so cool. The World Championship, huh? Dylan raised an eyebrow, impressed. This is fantastic. Although he wasn't interested in becoming a champion, the idea of becoming the world's strongest king was something Dylan found quite appealing. He definitely planned to use Necrozma and Kyurem to make a statement to the world. Just then, the door to the private room opened. A young man with blood-red hair, dressed in a cloak, walked in with a straight posture. It was Lance. Dylan. As soon as he entered, Lance's eyes immediately found Dylan, a slow smile spreading across his face. Lance, Sr. Dylan stood up and exchanged a smile with Lance, making eye contact. I've heard about your achievements in Unova. The president already told me. You've done great. Just as I expected, you're a worthy junior. Lance walked up to Dylan, and despite his usual cold voice, it now carried warmth and satisfaction. When dealing with those foolish, filthy evil organizations, there's no need to show mercy. Eradicate them all. That's the best course of action. Lance despised evil organizations. He was such an extreme and radical person, believing that evil organizations were the parasites of this beautiful world, and that these ugly rats should be exterminated. And you've earned the trust of the true dragon, Reshiram? And formed a dragon team, right? Lance's gaze gradually grew heated, and his intense stare made Dylan blink. Lance had actually been a bit out of touch with Dylan recently. He'd been so busy, never wanting to stop his efforts to wipe out Team Rocket's pests. But earlier in the afternoon, while resting at the Quartz Plateau, President Charles Goodshow had told him about Dylan's accomplishments. That's right, Dylan smiled and nodded. Then let me see, Dylan. Let me see if your dragons live up to the name. Lance's grin widened, his fiery gaze taking on an almost eerie intensity under the light of the room. Let me, your senior, see how strong your dragons really are. Chapter 165. Dragon. Since Senior Lance has proposed it, how could I refuse? A faint smile tugged at Dylan's lips. After all, if a senior extends a challenge, there's no reason to decline. My brother is going to battle champion Lance. Lily held her breath. This was the Lance, the Dragon Master and champion of Kanto, standing atop the very pinnacle of trainers in the region. In Kanto, he was unquestionably the strongest.
Excellent, Dylan. That's the spirit of a worthy successor.
Lance's satisfaction grew. Dragons never fear a challenge, no matter how formidable.
Ha ha ha, a battle between Lance and Dylan, how exciting.
President Charles Goodshow chuckled heartily.
To him, these two represented Kanto's present and future, and their clash promised to be extraordinary.
With the battle decided, the group had little appetite for dinner.
They quickly finished their meal and made their way to the battle arena behind the Kanto League headquarters. The enormous arena was equipped with bright lighting, which, once switched on, turned the night into day. Dylan and Lance took their respective positions on the battlefield, while Charles and Lily settled into the spectator seats.
Let the battle begin.
Lorelei, acting as the referee, stepped gracefully to the field's edge, raising her right hand.
The battle will follow a 4v4 format. Both trainers may switch Pokémon at will.
Victory will be determined when one side's 4 Pokémon are all unable to battle.
Begin.
Lorelei adjusted her glasses, glanced briefly at both trainers, and retreated from the field.
Now, only Dylan and Lance remained. Dylan, Lance said, sweeping his black cape dramatically.
His crimson hair flared with intensity as a smirk, sharp as a dragon's fangs, curved his lips.
I've been looking forward to this moment for a long time.
You are a successor I recognize, and I've waited for the day you would challenge me. Lance's towering confidence, bordering on arrogance, was a defining trait that had brought him to the summit of Kanto's trainer hierarchy. But his heart had always been set on a better world, a harmonious coexistence for all Pokémon. And he longed for a worthy rival to rise, a chosen one, like himself, from Viridian Forest. In Dylan, Lance sought his equal, someone with the same destiny and connection to the forest. His anticipation had been building for years, and now that they stood face to face on the battlefield, his blood boiled with excitement.
Dylan, don't disappoint me. Of course not, Senior Lance.
While Lance exuded fiery enthusiasm, Dylan remained calm. Adjusting the collar of his black shirt, he coolly countered Lance's intensity.
Lance's grin widened into something almost feral. Senior Lance, dragons are sacred and mythical creatures.
Though difficult to train, their power is unparalleled once mastered.
Lance blinked, momentarily stunned. Wasn't that his line?
And this was what you once told me, Senior Lance. Now, I return those words to you. Today, please experience the power of my dragons. The air grew still as Dylan's unwavering gaze locked onto Lance's. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation.
And then... Ha 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 ha.
Lance threw his head back in roaring laughter, his crimson hair flying wildly.
Well said, Dylan.
Very well said. His laughter abruptly ceased, and his sharp gaze, as keen as a blade, focused on Dylan.
Let's see whose dragons are truly stronger. Lance's exhilaration was palpable. He was fully immersed in the thrill of the battle.
Gyarados, go! Lance threw his Pokeball, and with a deafening roar, a colossal Gyarados crashed onto the field.
Its massive, serpentine body gleamed with muscle, its crown-like horns adding to its ferocity.
A glance at the Pokédex revealed its formidable strength.
Type, water/flying. Ability, intimidate. Signature moves, Hyper Beam, Outrage, Dragon Dance, Waterfall.
Lily couldn't help but mutter, her voice tinged with bewilderment, but...
Gyarados isn't a dragon type.
President Charles, however, looked on in admiration. Lance's Gyarados is one of his most trusted partners, a veteran from his championship team.
Its strength is undeniable.
Indeed, Lorelei nodded calmly, arms crossed.
Dylan, unfazed, smirked. An old powerhouse, is it? Let's match it. Archaludon. With a flash of light, Dylan released his Pokémon.
A massive Archaludon, its body gleaming with metallic luster, landed heavily on the field.
Its sturdy, silver frame and intimidating presence made it a worthy adversary. Type, Steel/Dragon. Ability, Stamina. Signature moves: Flash Cannon, Dragon Claw, Thunderbolt. President Charles raised his eyebrows. A steel dragon type. Dylan came prepared. The battle began in earnest. Dragon Dance. Lance wasted no time. Garrido swayed rhythmically in midair, its body glowing with power as it boosted its speed and strength. Thunderbolt. Dylan countered immediately, unleashing a burst of electricity from Arcaludon. Sparks crackled as the thunderbolt surged toward Garrido's. Dodge and use Earthquake. With a powerful lunge, Garridos evaded the attack and retaliated with a ground-shaking earthquake. The clash of titans had only just begun. Lance's eyes narrowed slightly. Arcaludon's reactions were swift, no surprise, given it was personally trained by Dylan. The Steel/Dragon-type Arcaludon was weak only to fighting in ground, while Garridos was a purely physical powerhouse. To take down Arcaludon, getting up close was a necessity. Garridos, Waterfall. The thought flashed through Lance's mind in an instant, and he gave the command calmly. Garridos slammed its massive tail on the ground, and a torrent of water surged beneath Arcaludon. The water converged into a massive column, propelling Arcaludon skyward at high speed. A water-type waterfall. Atop the water pillar, Arcaludon quickly reverted its body shape to stabilize itself. Meanwhile, Garridos was already charging forward, coiling its long body around the pillar and climbing upward at an incredible speed. Arcaludon, Thunderbolt. Dylan's gaze flickered as he gave his command. Electricity crackled around Arcaludon, and a powerful thunderbolt surged down the water pillar, enveloping it in electric currents. Yet Garridos was entirely unaffected. Instead, its climbing speed increased. Maintained a safe distance from the water pillar, I see, Dylan murmured, unsurprised. Lance, after all, wouldn't make such a rookie mistake. Had Garridos been scaling the pillar directly, it wouldn't have escaped Thunderbolt unscathed. Boom! By now, Garridos had reached the top of the pillar, slamming its water-shrouded head heavily into Arcaludon. A water-type waterfall. Arcaludon let out a muffled grunt. Garridos' sheer strength was undeniable. Even without a type advantage, its raw power forced Arcaludon back a few steps. At the same time, a white flash flickered around Arcaludon. Its ability, Stamina. Each time Arcaludon took a physical hit, its defense increased. Flare Blitz. Garridos immediately launched another attack, its body engulfed in flames as it charged. A fire-type Flare Blitz. Block it. Arcaludon raised its arms defensively as Garridos collided with it, the fiery impact scattering sparks. Once again, a white glow signaled an increase in Arcaludon's defense. However, the impact from Flare Blitz was enough to send Arcaludon tumbling off the water pillar, hurtling toward the ground at high speed. Crunch! Lance seized the moment, his tone cold and sharp. Garridos roared furiously, its fangs gleaming black as it lunged at the falling Arcaludon. Here it comes, Arcaludon, Dylan muttered, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Garridos' jaws clamped down on one of Arcaludon's arms in a dark-type crunch. Arcaludon groaned in pain, but that was all. Stamina triggered for the third time. With 3 boosts to its defense, this non-super effective move did minimal damage to Arcaludon. Moreover, this put Garridos in close range. Thunder! Lightning erupted around Arcaludon, striking down from the heavens in a massive surge of energy. A devastating electric-type thunder. Earthquake! Lance's expression remained ice-cold. Despite the overwhelming lightning crashing into it, Garridos roared defiantly, its fury driving it to slam downward, taking Arcaludon with it. Boom! The ground trembled violently. Dylan was momentarily stunned. Garridos had withstood a quadruple effective thunder. Even after taking such heavy damage, it had powered through to execute its attack. As expected of Lance's veteran ace, its resilience was extraordinary. Amidst the dust and lingering electricity sparking on Garridos' body, it raised its upper body once more, its massive tail preparing to strike Arcaludon. An earthquake. Garridos' tail smashed down heavily on Arcaludon, sending shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. Boom! Archaludon groaned in pain.
Even with 3 defense boosts and its naturally high physical durability, Lance's Gyarados' Earthquake was no light hit. After all, Earthquake was super effective against Archaludon. Yet it still wasn't enough to bring Archaludon down. Thunder! Despite its injuries, Archaludon summoned another surge of electricity, its entire body glowing as thunder roared again.
Gyarados roared in agony, its massive frame enveloped in lightning.
As the electric attack subsided, Gyarados made a final attempt to raise its tail for another attack, but the damage from thunder was too severe. As the light faded, Gyarados' body collapsed to the ground. Archaludon struggled to crawl out from beneath Gyarados' massive frame, each step heavy as it returned to Dylan's side.
Archaludon was heavily injured as well, its level couldn't match Gyarados'.
Only thanks to its high defense and the boosts from stamina had it managed to withstand Gyarados' Earthquake and retaliate.
Otherwise, the outcome could have gone the other way. Lance's sharp brows furrowed. Gyarados is unable to battle. Archaludon wins,
Lorelei declared after inspecting Gyarados.
Whoa! To defeat Lance's Gyarados, Dylan, you're incredible. President Charles Goodshow exclaimed in amazement. If Dylan had used Reshiram or Kyurem, it wouldn't have been surprising.
But to achieve victory with Archaludon, one of Dylan's personally trained aces, was a different story altogether. Lance's Gyarados was quadruple weak to electric attacks, but its ferocious combat style and brutal offense meant few Pokémon could endure its assault long enough to land an electric hit. To defeat my dragon, Dylan, you truly are remarkable, Lance complimented as he recalled Gyarados. No, Champion Lance, Gyarados isn't actually a dragon type.
Just because it has dragon in its name doesn't make it one. That's not how it works.
Only her brother's team truly counted as a dragon team. Lily silently grumbled in her heart but dared not voice it aloud.
Chapter 166, Dragon 2.
My dragon is, of course, very strong, Champion Lance. If you're not careful, you might lose pretty badly today, Dylan said with a smile, looking calmly at Lance.
Oh? Lance raised an eyebrow.
It seems winning a single match has given you a misconception, Dylan. Watch carefully, because next up, I'll show you what I'm really capable of.
Lance threw out his second Pokeball.
His pride would never allow him to lose to a junior at this stage. Charizard. A strong and imposing Charizard landed heavily in front of Lance, roaring.
A scorching pillar of flame shot toward the sky, brimming with energy. Lily.
Beep Charizard, fire and flying type, flame Pokemon. Ability, Blaze.
Signature moves, Flare Blitz, Inferno, Fire Spin, Fire Blast, Dragon Claw, Dragon Pulse, Outrage, Egg Move.
Description: when it exhales scorching flames, the tip of its tail burns brighter.
Asterisk. An old timer again?
It seems Lance plans to use his championship team against Dylan today, Charles Goodshow remarked, slightly surprised as he observed the Charizard. It was one of Lance's core team members during his rise to the top of Kanto.
That seems likely, Lorelei nodded.
Over the years, Lance had trained several new core Pokémon, some better suited for countering an Archaludon. But his choice of Charizard now likely meant he intended to battle with the team that crowned him champion back then.
Charizard, huh? Dylan scrutinized the powerful Charizard. It was widely known that Charizard, also nicknamed Flame Dragon, was a perennial favorite. Ash's Charizard, Alan's Charizard, and after Pokémon Origins, Red's Charizard became iconic. Not to mention Leon's Charizard.
Now, it was time to see how strong Lance's Charizard really was. Charizard, Flamethrower. Lance dramatically swung his arm, issuing the first attack command. Being proud and aggressive by nature, Lance valued pure offense, believing the best defense was an unstoppable attack. Charizard flapped its wings and soared, its mouth glowing with intense flames.
Dragon Pulse. Dylan's lips curved into a faint smile. Archaludon lowered its arms, transforming them into a bridge-like structure once more.
Concentrated dragon energy formed, colliding head-on with the incoming flamethrower.
Boom! Dragon Pulse and the searing flames clashed mid-air, sending shockwaves rippling out. In an instant, both attacks exploded simultaneously. Inferno! Lance didn't miss a beat.
Charizard roared loudly, and crimson, spiraling flames surged downward.
The fire-type move Inferno.
Not only was its power formidable, but if it hit, the target was almost guaranteed to be burned.
Rock Slide. Dylan chuckled lightly. Lance's expression shifted.
The rock-type move Rock Slide was 4 times effective against Charizard. Arcaludon let out a low growl, summoning massive rocks above Charizard that came crashing down.
Charizard! Lance barked.
Charizard immediately flapped its wings, attempting to retreat, but maintaining Inferno had delayed it slightly. Even though it tried its best to dodge, 2 large rocks struck Charizard directly, causing it to roar in pain as it hastily withdrew. Meanwhile, Inferno had hit Arcaludon, and crimson flames engulfed it, inflicting significant damage. After all, Arcaludon wasn't resistant to fire, and its special defense wasn't as high as its physical defense. Lance's Charizard, with its strong special attack, delivered a heavy blow. The flames eventually subsided, but a small ember ignited on Arcaludon's body before erupting into a fierce blaze.
It was burned. Flamethrower. Lance's expression turned grim. The damage from Rock Slide was severe, even though Charizard had avoided the brunt of it. Charizard unleashed another flamethrower. Arcaludon, already burned and weakened, couldn't avoid it and took a direct hit. Boom! The flamethrower exploded on Arcaludon. When the dust settled, Arcaludon had collapsed. Arcaludon is unable to battle.
Charizard wins, Lorelei declared after carefully observing Arcaludon.
Champion Lance is amazing. He managed to defeat Dylan's Arcaludon. Lily exclaimed, clearly impressed.
Charles Goodshow and Lorelei, who had just returned, both tilted their heads, question marks practically visible above them.
Wasn't Lance defeating Dylan's Pokémon the expected outcome? Why did Lily's words make it sound like the reverse was true? But... well done, Champion Lance.
I can't believe you managed to defeat my Arcaludon, Dylan said as he recalled his Arcaludon, sharing Lily's sentiment. Charles Goodshow and Lorelei exchanged amused glances, thinking the siblings' phrasing was remarkably similar.
Oh. Such arrogance, Dylan.
While I admire your growth, today I'll show you that I'm still your senior. Lance stood tall with arms crossed, exuding confidence.
Dylan, you are the challenger. Lance truly marveled at Dylan's rapid improvement, but no matter what, he was the senior. Dylan was the challenger here. Is that so?
Champion Lance, I hate to say this, but you won't defeat me today, Dylan said with a raised eyebrow, smirking as he pulled out a Pokeball.
Let me show you with this, your dragon. Dragonite, ready for battle. Dylan tossed the Pokeball.
In a flash of light, a hefty, orange Dragonite landed heavily in front of him.
It was Dragonite. Oh, is that the Dragonite that evolved from the Dratini landscape, Dylan?
Charles Goodshow's eyes sparkled. Incredible, Lorelei adjusted her glasses, her eyes gleaming. If memory served, Lance had given Dylan the Dratini just over 3 months ago. Yet judging by this Dragonite's presence, it was already stronger than the Arcaludon. Dylan truly was a prodigy. So, it's that dragon. Lance's sharp gaze softened significantly when he saw this Dragonite. After carefully observing it, he was utterly shocked. As he had mentioned himself, raising dragons wasn't an easy task. Turning a Dratini into a Dragonite in just over 3 months was already an astonishing feat. And to top it off, it was at champion level? Even Lance, who prided himself on his deep understanding of the Dragonite line, admitted he couldn't achieve something like this. This doesn't seem reasonable. Lance fell into deep thought. Had he been training his Dragonites the wrong way all along? How was Dylan able to raise one so quickly? Lance, you probably haven't battled against Dragonites very often, have you? Humph. Dylan, you underestimate me too much. When it comes to understanding Dragonites, no one in this world surpasses me. Lance snorted coldly, speaking with pride. Dylan found it amusing but acknowledged it as a fact. Lance's expertise on Dragonites was undoubtedly unparalleled.
Well then, let's see how you handle my Dragonite. Dragonite, Extreme Speed. Dragonite let out a low growl as its small wings flapped, propelling it into the air.
A white streak of light trailed behind it as it charged fiercely toward Charizard.
Dragon Pulse. Lance had no intention of switching Pokémon. This was a battle against a junior, and his pride wouldn't allow him to consider changing Pokémon.
Charizard locked its gaze on the fast-approaching orange figure, gathering a glowing draconic light in its mouth.
Now!
Predicting Dragonite's movement, Charizard unleashed a Dragon Pulse in the form of a radiant wave. But Dragonite suddenly accelerated, breaking past the predicted trajectory of Dragon Pulse and crashing heavily into Charizard. The extreme speed of a normal-type attack. Charizard let out a pained roar, its body pushed back by Dragonite's impact. Angrily glaring at the Dragonite that was now in close range, Charizard's tail flame surged, and a faint red glow enveloped its body.
The Blaze ability has been activated. Charizard, Hurricane. Stone Edge.
Charizard's wings beat rapidly, creating powerful gusts of wind. But Dragonite took a step back, summoning sharp stones that materialized in front of it. Charizard, Protect.
Lance's eyes narrowed.
Charizard quickly flapped its wings to retreat, activating a green protective barrier. But it was a bit rushed. Stone Edge struck before the barrier could fully form, landing a direct hit on Charizard. The Stone Edge of a rock-type attack. A series of violent explosions erupted as Charizard, like a kite with a broken string, plummeted toward the ground.
Dragonite's Stone Edge was devastating even against a fully healthy Charizard, let alone one already weakened. Thud.
Charizard hit the ground with a heavy crash.
Charizard is unable to battle. Dragonite wins, declared Lorelei in her usual calm tone, though her eyes betrayed a hint of peculiarity. She hadn't expected to announce another trainer's Dragonite as the winner in a battle against Lance. Wasn't this a kind of symbolic loss? An excellent Dragonite. Lance wasn't too surprised.
After recalling Charizard, he praised Dylan's Dragonite.
Well, it's all thanks to the excellent Dratini you gave me, Lance. Its innate talent is extraordinary, Dylan said modestly.
No, it's thanks to your exceptional training, Lance shook his head. Even though Dratini had exceptional potential, Lance knew that wasn't the main reason.
But Dylan, how do you plan to deal with this next dragon?
Lance smirked as he released his third Pokémon.
Dragonair.
With a melodious cry, a long and elegant serpent-like Pokémon floated in front of Lance.
Its body was covered in sapphire blue scales, its underside gleaming in white. Radiating an aura of nobility, it was none other than Dragonair, Dratini's evolved form. Beep. Dragonair, Dragon-type, Dragon Pokémon. Ability, Shed Skin. Moves, Hyper Beam, Outrage, Dragon Dance, Safeguard, Dragon Rush, Aqua Tail, Ice Beam, Thunder, Draco Meteor.
Description: it is said to be a sacred creature cloaked in an aura, with the ability to alter weather conditions.
It was an extremely powerful Dragonair. This must be one of the two Dragonairs you used when you became champion, right? But why didn't you let them evolve into Dragonite? Lily asked curiously. At last, Lance was using a true Dragon-type Pokémon for his third battle. Chapter 167, Dragon 3.
Lily gazed at the Dragonair with a puzzled expression. Many dragon types only reach their full potential after evolving into their final forms. Naturally, Dragonite was far stronger than Dragonair, especially since Dragonite is known as a late bloomer among Pokémon.
Dragonair is different from Dragonite, Lily, President Goodshow said with a gentle smile. Dragonair has a unique ability that Dragonite loses upon evolving. Dragonair is born with the ability to control weather, a power that it sacrifices when it evolves into Dragonite.
Lorelei nodded, her voice calm. Weather control plays a significant role in Pokémon battles, especially for trainers who specialize in certain types. That does sound familiar, Lily said, pressing her finger to her chin as she tried to recall.
I think I've heard that before.
Additionally, these two Dragonair share a bond that ordinary Pokémon cannot compare to, Lorelei continued. After being carefully trained by Lance, their power isn't any weaker than that of a normal Dragonite. When they combine their weather manipulating abilities in battle, their strength is nothing short of extraordinary. Lorelei's gaze lingered on the elegant and dazzling Dragonair on the field. In official battles, these Dragonair might not seem particularly special aside from being far stronger than regular Dragonair. But in the wild, the combined strength of Lance's two Dragonair could rival even his Ace Dragonite's attacks. This was one of the reasons why Lance chose not to evolve them. Moreover, the Dragonair themselves willingly decided against evolution, a testament to the bond they shared with their trainer. Lance deeply cherishes his Pokémon and would never force them to act against their will. The strength of a Pokémon can't be measured solely by its species or base stats. Pokémon are extraordinary creatures. Factors like determination, willpower, training, and bonds can all contribute to making them stronger, Lorelei said, her tone still even. My brother often says that too, Lily murmured thoughtfully. He told me that even a Swinub, with enough dedication and training, could defeat Ho-Oh and Lugia. Lorelei's eyebrows twitched slightly at that. Your brother isn't entirely wrong. That's why Lance's Dragonair can hold its own even against championship-level Dragonite. She nodded but then adjusted her glasses, her expression becoming slightly peculiar. However, the idea of a Swinub defeating Ho-Oh and Lugia, that's a bit too far-fetched. Lorelei couldn't help but chuckle. She understood that Lily's brother was trying to teach her the importance of nurturing even the weakest Pokémon, but the example was overly exaggerated. Honestly, he could have said Swinub defeating Dragonite instead. But using Ho-Oh and Lugia as examples? That's just ridiculous. How is a Swinub supposed to counter legendary Pokémon like that? Lily blinked. She also found it a bit unbelievable, but since it was her brother who said it, she believed there must be some logic behind it. On the battlefield. Come on, Dylan. My Dragonair has always been my trusted partner. Let's see if your Dragonite can defeat it. Lance's crimson hair fluttered as he spoke with wild excitement. Despite having already lost two of his key Pokémon, his spirits remained high. It didn't matter. As long as he hadn't been defeated yet, his dragons could still turn the tide. Dragonite, extreme speed. Dylan commanded without hesitation. A flash of white light trailed behind Dragonite as it charged at Dragonair with blinding speed. Normal type extreme speed. Extreme speed? Then we'll use it too. Lance declared, his cape billowing dramatically. Dragonair let out a melodious cry as the same brilliant white light surrounded its form. It dashed forward to meet the oncoming Dragonite head-on. Bang! The two Pokémon collided forcefully in the center of the battlefield, extreme speed against extreme speed. To Lily's astonishment, Dragonite's extreme speed failed to overpower Dragonair's. How is that possible? Dylan's eyes narrowed. The disparity isn't just in levels. This Dragonair's overall strength rivals that of Dragonite. He found it hard to believe. Could this Dragonair really be so high-leveled, like level 90? That seemed absurd. This wasn't merely a matter of levels, it was also about the intrinsic strength of the Pokémon itself. Unlike the structured mechanics of a game, real Pokémon are living beings. In reality, factors like a trainer's dedication and the Pokémon's unique characteristics come into play. Giovanni's Beedrill, Price's Delibird, and even obscure Pokémon like Swinub had proven this time and again. Lance's Dragonair was the same. Its high level, coupled with Lance's meticulous training, allowed it to rival a typical Dragonite. The two Pokémon, both utilizing extreme speed, clashed repeatedly in the air, their movements almost imperceptible to the naked eye. Only flashes of blue and orange could be seen as they crossed paths in rapid succession. One clash, two clashes, three clashes, four clashes. After 4 intense exchanges, both Pokémon finally pulled back, floating midair and staring each other down. Impressive as always, Lance said with a fierce grin. But now, Dylan, let me show you Dragonair's unique ability. Dragonair, summon the rain. With a roar, Dragonair's orbs glowed mysteriously. A fierce wind began to howl, and dark clouds quickly gathered overhead. Pitter-patter. In the blink of an eye, torrential rain began to pour down, Dragonair's innate weather-controlling ability in action.
Dragonair, Blizzard! Lance commanded with a flourish. Dragonair opened its mouth, unleashing a freezing storm of ice and snow. An Ice-type blizzard, quadruple effective against Dragonite.
Under the rainy conditions, the downpour instantly turned to icy pellets, which were swept up in the raging snowstorm and hurled at Dragonite.
Blizzard? Dylan arched an eyebrow, unfazed. Dragonite flew back quickly, unleashing its own icy blizzard in retaliation.
The two freezing storms clashed violently before exploding in a burst of icy energy, neither managing to overpower the other.
Thunder! Lance barked.
Golden lightning crackled within the storm clouds, and a massive bolt of electricity struck down at Dragonite.
Electric-type thunder! In the rain, Thunder's speed and accuracy were significantly boosted, making it nearly impossible to dodge. Ice beam! Dylan countered.
Instead of trading blows with Thunder, Dragonite charged its own icy energy, firing a beam of freezing light at Dragonair.
Boom!
The thunder struck Dragonite, engulfing it in crackling electricity.
Gritting its teeth, Dragonite endured the pain.
Meanwhile, the ice beam froze the raindrops in its path, finally striking Dragonair, eliciting a pained cry as it recoiled from the super-effective attack.
Lance's sharp eyes narrowed. As expected of Dylan, he wasn't giving an inch. Extreme speed, close in! Dylan ordered decisively. White light once again enveloped Dragonite as it darted toward Dragonair with incredible speed. Dragonair!
Lance's eyes gleamed, but this time he didn't command a counterattack.
Dragonair floated motionlessly, its jewel-like eyes tracking Dragonite's every move. Dragonite didn't attack immediately but instead zipped around Dragonair at high speed, attempting to confuse it. Thunderbolt! Lance called out.
Electricity crackled around Dragonair as it unleashed Thunderbolt in all directions. In the rain, the electrical discharge spread rapidly, creating a web of lightning that enveloped the area around Dragonair.
Charge through! Dylan shouted.
The Dragonite flew into the blind spot behind the Dragonair and suddenly charged toward it, forcing its way through a net of tens of thousands of volts.
Dragonite crashed heavily into Dragonair. Ice beam! As expected, they closed in.
Lance grinned, knowing full well that even though he was aware that Dragonair could use ice-type moves, Dylan would inevitably have Dragonite close the distance.
After all, could Dragonite beat Dragonair by just using long-range attacks? Impossible.
Even if Lance were in Dylan's position, he would also try his best to close in and fight head-on.
Dragonair was hit by Dragonite's quick attack.
Despite the pain, it began gathering icy energy in its mouth.
Dragon Claw!
Dragonite's claws gleamed with green energy as it slashed toward Dragonair, moving at lightning speed. Ripping sounds echoed as Dragonite's dragon claw cut across Dragonair's head, forcing it to turn aside, causing its prepared ice beam to miss completely.
Dragonair! Lance's expression immediately darkened. How could this happen? Dragonair roared in anger and tried to turn its head, attempting to aim the ice beam again. Dragonite!
However, Dragonite's sharp, green claws reached up from below, forcefully blocking Dragonair's mouth.
Not just its mouth, but Dragonite's claw was gripping Dragonair's entire face, holding it tightly in its grasp. Lance frowned deeply. Crack, crack.
The sound of freezing rang out continuously, as Dragonite's left claw was frozen almost to the point of numbness. The ice beam had inflicted significant damage on Dragonite. Dragonair struggled desperately, but no matter how hard it tried, it couldn't pull its head out of Dragonite's frozen grip.
Its long body twisted helplessly below. Ah! Lily was stunned.
If she had to describe it, it was as if Dragonite had grabbed the snake by its most vulnerable spot, and Dragonair was the snake.
Dylan had a plan, huh? Looks like he made a bold move.
Charles Goodshow's eyes lit up. By using Dragon Claw to forcibly grab Dragonair's head, though Ice Beam did hit Dragonite, it only hit Dragonite's paw.
But now, Dragonair had become unable to retaliate.
As a serpent-like Pokemon, with its head immobilized, it lost its most powerful weapon.
Dragonite, Dragon Pulse! Dragonite lifted Dragonair and unleashed Dragon Pulse, striking Dragonair's body.
A loud crash rang out, followed by a muffled, pained cry from Dragonair.
Dragon Claw. Dragonair. Wide area destruction. Lance's voice rang out, signaling that it was time to counterattack. If this continued, Dragonair would be in trouble, unable to break free. Dragonite. Dylan immediately called out to Dragonite. Dragonite lowered its body and forcefully swung Dragonair, repeatedly slamming it into the ground. Due to the sudden loss of weight, Dragonair couldn't activate its wide area destruction. The scene looked like a wrestling move, similar to Hulk throwing Loki. Bang! Bang!
Dragonair's body was slammed into the ground again and again, each hit cracking deep fissures in the field, showing just how much force Dragonite was using.
After about a dozen slams, Dragonair's head became dizzy and its body grew limp.
The scene left Charles Goodshow, who was watching, wide-eyed in shock. As he watched Dragonair, being treated like a whip, swinging in Dragonite's grasp, Lance's face twitched.
What on earth did Dylan teach this Dragonite? Why was it so skilled? Chapter 168, Dragon 4. Dragonair had lost its ability to fight. Dragonite finally released it and followed up with a devastating Dragon Rush.
With a thunderous crash, Dragonite soared into the sky. Under the heavy rain, Dragonair's limp body collapsed into a pit, unconscious.
Dragonair is unable to battle. Dragonite wins.
Lorelei announced the result.
The scoreboard showed that Lance's third Pokémon, Dragonair, had also been defeated.
This was a 4-on-4 battle, meaning Lance was down to his final Pokémon.
Incredible, Dylan.
Since I claimed the peak of Kanto, you're the first trainer to push me this far, Lance said, his crimson hair drenched by rain, some strands clinging to his face, giving him a somewhat fearsome appearance. He had brought his old teammates for this battle. Although he had trained other dragon Pokémon in recent years and his frontline roster had changed, these veterans had been retired to a second-line role. Yet, veterans were veterans, their strength was beyond that of ordinary champions.
As expected of my junior.
Lance's grin widened, his tone growing more excited.
Of course, it is an honor to face you, Senior Lance, Dylan replied with a smile. That was an undeniable truth. Excluding teams of legendary Pokémon, his dragon lineup was indeed the strongest in direct combat. Ha ha ha. But I haven't seen your Res Hiram yet, Dylan. That won't do, Lance laughed heartily. Dylan, let me show you my Dragonite. Let's see how it compares to yours. The laughter abruptly stopped as Lance heavily tossed his fourth Pokeball. Dragonite. With a flash of white light, a stout and imposing Dragonite landed in front of Lance. Its demeanor was noticeably darker and more somber compared to Dylan's Dragonite. Dylan narrowed his eyes, observing this Dragonite carefully. Its aura was unusually heavy, different from a normal Dragonite. However, this didn't seem to be Lance's ace Dragonite. Dylan had seen Lance's ace in Saffron City before, and it had left a deep impression on him. The oppressive presence and chilling aura of that ace Dragonite were completely distinct from this one. Senior Lance, this isn't your ace Dragonite, is it? Dylan raised an eyebrow and asked. It seemed Lance was even more gentle than he had imagined, refraining from using his ace Dragonite. But this also indicated that Lance didn't just have one powerful Dragonite. Dylan thought about this somber Dragonite. Could it be like in Heart Gold and Soul Silver where Lance had trained 3 Dragonite? 3 Dragonite and 2 Dragonair, what a team of heavyweights. Figured it out? Makes sense. With your Viridian Forest powers, you're quite sensitive to Pokémon, Lance admitted, arms crossed. Indeed, the Dragonite on the field was his Unit 02. Dylan, do you think as a senior, I should use my ace in a friendly match against a junior? Lance's pride was evident. He didn't want to lose to a junior, even in a practice match. However, as a senior, his pride also wouldn't let him go all out in such a match. This contradiction defined Lance. Tisk, if I didn't know you better, senior, I'd think you were disrespecting me, Dylan teased, feigning disappointment. Dylan, even if this isn't my ace, it's still a core member of my frontline team. I see. That's fair. Still, I feel a bit let down.
I was looking forward to our match, Senior, only to find out you're holding back, Dylan said with mock injury. Lance's sharp brow twitched, catching the undertone of Dylan's words.
What do you want, then?
How about this, if I win, promise me a small favor. Don't worry, Senior, I won't ask for anything outrageous, Dylan said, his smile disarmingly pleasant.
Deal. Lance agreed without hesitation.
Dylan's skill had genuinely surprised him, and his decision not to use his ace seemed to belittle his opponent. Still, with only one Pokemon left, there was no point in bringing out his trump card now. Let's see how your Dragonite measures up, Champion Lance, Dylan said, his eyes glinting slightly.
Go, Dragonite! Dragon Rush! Roar!
The air echoed with a ferocious dragon's roar as Dragonite stretched its limbs in midair, its body enveloped by a dark, draconic aura before it charged towards Lance's somber Dragonite.
Dragon Rush!
Lance called out, his voice both intense and eager. The somber Dragonite's body also surged with a dark, draconic energy as it counterattacked.
Dragon Rush versus Dragon Rush. Boom! The two Dragonite collided midair, unleashing a tidal wave of energy. Soon, Dylan realized that Lance's somber Dragonite was steadily overpowering his own. So strong? Dylan was taken aback. This wasn't even Lance's ace. With another resounding roar, the somber Dragonite shattered the draconic energy surrounding Dylan's Dragonite and struck it head-on.
Dragonite cried out in pain as its body was knocked back, nearly crashing into the ground.
Dylan, what do you think? Lance's expression instantly turned smug, a hint of cocky triumph flashing across his face. Impressive.
As expected of one of your main forces, Dylan said with a thumbs up. Lance's grin widened at the praise.
Come back, Dragonite, Dylan said, recalling his Pokemon.
A direct clash of Dragon Rush had already shown the difference in strength. Winning this internal dragon duel seemed unlikely. Dylan glanced at the sky. The rain triggered by Dragonair had stopped.
Senior Lance, Dylan said, pulling out a deep crimson luxury ball. Watch closely. This is the true dragon I acquired from the Unova region, the one you've been waiting to see. Res Hiram.
With a graceful toss, Dylan released the luxury ball.
A serene, melodic cry echoed as a pure white dragon descended before Dylan, its azure eyes calmly locking onto Lance's somber Dragonite. Lance's eyes instantly lit up. This is the legendary dragon Pokemon, Reshiram.
His expression turned fervent.
As a dragon enthusiast, Lance's passion for dragons was unparalleled.
The sight of a legendary dragon filled him with awe and admiration. Dylan, you're truly lucky, Lance said, examining the majestic white dragon for a long moment. Indeed, legendary Pokemon were a rare blessing, and Reshiram, the Dragon of Truth, was an especially extraordinary encounter.
Agreed, Dylan said, nodding earnestly. Enough chit-chat, Dylan. Show me the power of the true dragon. Lance's eyes burned with fervor.
He was already eager to experience the power of the legendary dragon firsthand.
Of course, Senior Lance.
Please, go ahead, Dylan replied with a light chuckle, gesturing for Lance to make his move.
Dragonite, extreme speed.
Lance wasted no time, launching an attack immediately. Even when faced with the legendary dragon god, Lance showed no fear. On the contrary, his fighting spirit burned brighter than ever. Watching this, Lily couldn't help but recall how Ziyu had been flustered and panicked when facing Reshiram directly. The difference in their composure was stark. But then again, it was unfair to compare the two. After all, one was a student, and the other was the champion of Kanto. White light shimmered behind Dragonite as it shot toward Reshiram with incredible speed. An extreme speed, a move of the normal type.
Boom burst. Dylan's command was calm and unhurried. Reshiram tilted its head back and unleashed a cacophonous boom burst. The powerful sound waves rippled outward in visible waves. Dragonite. Still in extreme speed mode, Dragonite ascended sharply, narrowly avoiding the boom burst attack. Quick reflexes, Dylan observed, raising an eyebrow. Extreme speed's acceleration was incredibly fast, or Dragonite wouldn't have been able to dodge that boom burst. Dragon Rush. Lance quickly analyzed the situation. While extreme speed allowed for swift approaches, it couldn't bypass the wide area attack of boom burst. If that was the case, a direct assault was the only option. A guttural roar echoed as a green, dragon-shaped aura enveloped Dragonite's entire body, transforming it into a menacing dragon. Dragon Rush.
Dragonite dove sharply, aiming straight for Reshiram.
Dragon Pulse. Lance truly favored aggressive tactics, launching relentless assaults even against Reshiram. But Dylan appreciated opponents like this.
Reshiram gathered a glowing green-blue energy in its mouth, firing a Dragon Pulse directly at the incoming Dragon Rush. The two Dragon-type moves collided head-on, their energy spilling into the surroundings in violent waves. However, it didn't take long for Reshiram's Dragon Pulse to overpower Dragonite's Dragon Rush, landing a direct hit on Dragonite.
Boom! The explosion reverberated as Dragonite roared in pain, its body hurtling toward the ground. Such a powerful Dragon Pulse? Lance's brow furrowed tightly.
Although he had known Reshiram's strength was formidable, he hadn't expected its Dragon Pulse to be this overwhelming.
This suggested that Reshiram was likely a dragon specializing in special attack. Given that the white dragon hadn't appeared before humanity for millennia, Lance had no concrete information about it. He could only piece things together through combat. But the cost of gathering this information was proving to be steep. Reshiram's special attack was exceptionally high, and its Dragon Pulse, being a stab move, dealt devastating damage to Dragonite. Dragon Pulse. Reshiram prepared another burst of dragon energy, and another Dragon Pulse struck the freshly grounded Dragonite. Boom! Another thunderous explosion rocked the battlefield, scattering debris in every direction. When the dust settled, Dragonite lay unconscious in a crater. Lance pursed his lips as he stared at his defeated Dragonite. His reliable second unit had been taken out just like that? Reshiram's strength far exceeded his expectations. Dragonite is unable to battle. Reshiram wins. Lance's 4 Pokemon are all unable to battle.
The winner of this match is Dylan, Lorelei announced, stepping forward. She adjusted her glasses, her gaze lingering on the holy and majestic Reshiram. As expected of the legendary Reshiram, its power was on par with the Zekrom seen during the Saffron City incident.
Well, Senior Lance, what do you think of my Reshiram? Dylan asked with a smile as he approached. Lance's face twitched slightly. That victorious stance, he was usually the one in that position. However, there was no denying that he had lost this battle. It had been a long time since he had experienced defeat, and he wasn't particularly fond of the feeling. It's incredibly strong.
If this had been an official match, I doubt even my ace would have stood a chance against Reshiram. Lance gave the matter serious thought, gazing at Reshiram behind Dylan. As expected of Unova's legendary True Dragon. Its power was astonishing, and Lance had to admit it. 2 Dragon Pulses had defeated his second Dragonite. Even his ace Dragonite couldn't pull off such a feat. Still, Lance maintained his pride. He had specifically mentioned an official match. In a wild, rule-free battle, his dragon army would reign supreme. Even against Reshiram, Lance was confident he could take it down in a group fight. Yes, this was his last shred of defiance. I didn't expect you to admit something like that, Senior Lance, Dylan said, a little surprised.
Dylan, don't misunderstand.
I'm not someone who can't handle losing, Lance said calmly. The world knew Lance as a proud and arrogant dragon master, but he didn't think there was anything wrong with his pride. If people thought he was too arrogant, that was fine, let them defeat him, then. If they couldn't beat him, why shouldn't he be proud?
Fair enough, Dylan nodded, understanding. That was good to hear.
Next time, in an official match, he'd make sure to greet Senior Lance with his Hail team. After all, Lance himself had said he could handle losing. Besides, he'd already lost once, losing again should be even easier to accept.
Dylan, what's the request you mentioned?
Lance looked at Dylan curiously, wondering about the small favor he had mentioned earlier.
Oh, that haha, it's nothing big, just a tiny wish. Could you change your username on social media? Dylan's eyes narrowed, and he smiled like a cunning fox. If he remembered correctly, Lance's current username was simply his own name, Lance.
Very straightforward. Lorelei froze for a moment upon hearing this, as did Charles Goodshow and Lily, who had walked over.
Sure. What do you want me to change it to? Lance didn't think much of it, it was just a username change, after all. Great. Then please change it to Dajuel for a week. Lance froze, a string of question marks filling his mind. What was the meaning of this? Chapter 169, Frustrated Face. Dajuel.
While the duo and the nickname was straightforward enough, the bird part left Lance puzzled. His sharp, chiseled features twisted into confusion. He had an inexplicable feeling of foreboding about the nickname, as if it carried some hidden malice aimed at him, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Nearby, Lorelei's gaze flickered with a faintly amused look as if she had figured out the joke.
Done. 1 week, right?
True to his word, Lance took out his phone and updated all his social media profiles, changing his username to Dajuel.
He then turned to Dylan with his usual stoic tone. Ha! That's why you're the real deal, Lance, what a man of honor. Dylan laughed heartily, giving Lance a big thumbs up.
He was clearly enjoying himself.
Lance, I'd love to have a full-scale official battle with you someday. All out, no holding back.
I've even carefully prepared a team specifically tailored to counter you, and I promise not to use Res Hiram.
Dylan's voice carried both sincerity and a mischievous undertone.
Oof. You're getting cocky, Dylan, Lance said, his brow arching as he flicked his black cape dramatically.
Dragons aren't afraid of counters. Fine then, once I have the time, I'll personally come to your Rota gym.
I'm curious to see what kind of lineup you've prepared.
With a sharp smile, Lance gave Dylan a warning glare.
The next time we battle, I'll show you the true might of my dragon army at full strength. Next time, Lance, you might end up losing even worse than today. Just giving you a friendly heads up so you can mentally prepare, Dylan teased, his eyes gleaming with mischief.
Oomph. As I've already said, I'm not someone who's incapable of accepting defeat. Lance's voice turned colder.
And make no mistake, Dylan, next time, you will be the one to lose.
Lance's declaration was firm and unyielding, brimming with the pride of the Kanto champion.
He had built a stronger dragon army than ever before, and it was about time to remind this cheeky junior of his place.
We'll see about that, Lance.
I'll be waiting, Dylan replied cheerfully.
He was already scheming his lineup for their rematch. For Alolan Ninetales, followed by Articuno, and then Kyurem?
That should keep Lance on his toes.
Ha ha. Be sure to call me when you two battle next time.
Charles Goodshow interjected, laughing heartily.
I'm looking forward to seeing a full power showdown between you two.
Charles Goodshow, ever the jovial elder, found the budding rivalry between Dylan and Lance delightful. It filled him with hope that Lance's strong and extreme personality might soften over time through bonds like these.
The group returned to the league building after their battle.
Charles had already arranged for Dylan and Lily to stay in a luxurious suite.
That evening,
"Brother, let me help dry your hair." Fresh out of the shower, Lily grabbed a hairdryer and smiled sweetly at Dylan.
"Thanks, Lily." Dylan sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He couldn't help but chuckle as he browsed the comments under Lance's social media account.
Although Lance rarely used his accounts, his sudden name change to Dajuel had caused an uproar.
Comments section. First. OMG, I'm so touched that Lance actually updated his profile. But what's with the name? It's kinda cute, though, huh? Dajuel hugs, this doesn't seem like something the cool and aloof Lance would pick. Did he get hacked? Maybe it's a hint? Like, what if Lance secretly likes flying types too? Put. Dylan couldn't hold back his laughter.
The internet had no idea of the inside joke, and the wild theories people were coming up with were too much.
Brother, what's so funny? Lily asked curiously, sitting beside him after finishing with the hairdryer. Lily, think about Lance's team today. What type do you think dominated his lineup? Dylan asked, lightly ruffling her hair and sliding a bit further away from her on the couch. Dragons? Wait, no, it's flying types. Lily's eyes lit up as she put the pieces together. Exactly. Back when Lance first became champion, there weren't enough dragon types in Kanto.
His team was more of a flying specialist lineup, Dylan explained with a grin. But over the years, with Kanto League resources and the Johto Dragon Clan's support, his roster has definitely evolved.
He didn't even use his main lineup against me today.
Next time, in an official match, he'll bring his full power for sure.
Dylan set his phone aside. The name prank was just a bit of fun, but he never underestimated Lance. Today's sparring session had shown Dylan just how formidable Lance's top-tier Pokémon could be.
If Lance brought his true main roster, it would be a battle to remember. Later, Dylan released 2 Pokeballs, revealing a pair of rare Pokémon. On the left was a dark blue quadrupedal dragon Pokémon, its shaggy black fur covering its eyes. Dano, the pre-evolution of Hydreigon. On the right was a fiery caterpillar-like Pokémon with white fluff around its head and 5 red antennae. Larvesta, the pre-evolution of Volcarona.
Lily's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she looked at the 2 Pokémon. Brother, these 2 look so unique. What are they? The first one is Dano, a dragon/dark type. The second is Larvesta, a bug/fire type. They're both rare Pokémon with immense potential, Dylan explained. Larvesta was a personal gift from Alder, the Unova champion, as thanks for Dylan's help in capturing Anangetsus.
Dylan wasn't one to refuse such a precious gift, especially since Volcarona was a powerful Pokémon on par with pseudo-legendaries. With these 2 additions to his team, Dylan's preparations for his rematch against Lance were coming together nicely. He couldn't wait to see the look on Lance's face when the Dragon Master faced an icy onslaught of counters. Volcarona is undeniably a very powerful Pokémon. Its Pokédex entries are so impressive that one can't help but wonder if it's actually a legendary Pokémon. The sheer grandeur of its description elevates its mystique to an entirely different level.
Another peaceful night passed. The next morning, after finishing his morning routine, Dylan called out to Lily.
Yo, Dylan, you're up so early. As he entered Charles Gucho's office, he found the league president already hard at work.
Are you always this dedicated, Mr. President?
It's not too bad. This old man is just used to waking up early.
Are you heading back to Rhoda today?
Charles Gucho smiled warmly as he spoke, signaling his secretary to prepare breakfast for 3.
It's been nearly a week since I left.
I really should head back. The challengers have been complaining for the past 2 days that I'm neglecting my duties as a gym leader.
Dylan's tone was light-hearted as he joked.
Ha. That just shows how popular your gym is, Dylan, Charles replied with a hearty laugh.
Still, Dylan, are you absolutely sure you don't want to take on the role of champion?
I could arrange for you to serve as an Elite 4 member first.
Kanto's Elite 4 team isn't fully staffed, and the workload isn't as heavy as it seems. Being a gym leader feels like a bit of a waste of your talent. Charles tried once again to persuade Dylan.
No need to try and convince me, Mr. President. I feel like being a gym leader is the perfect fit for me, free and easy, Dylan replied with a smile. Being a champion or even an Elite 4 member was a completely different responsibility from being a gym leader.
Dylan didn't want to bind himself with such restrictions. Perhaps with Dylan's strength, he wouldn't need to worry about those constraints.
But holding those titles came with significant responsibility, and Dylan had no interest in becoming a target for baseless criticism from ordinary people.
Being a gym leader was far more enjoyable. He could train and teach aspiring trainers, watching them come in with excitement and leave in frustration. It was oddly satisfying.
All right then, Dylan. But there's one thing this old man would like to ask of you, Charles said hesitantly.
Please, go ahead, Dylan replied. It's about Lance.
You've probably noticed that Lance holds you in very high regard and treats you differently than others, Charles began, his tone serious.
That's true. Lance has been very kind to me, Dylan acknowledged with a nod.
This was a fact. Lance had always treated him with exceptional respect, and Dylan genuinely appreciated him for it.
I don't know how to put this.
This is more of an internal matter, but Lance's relationship with the Kanto League hasn't been very harmonious lately, Charles said with a wry smile, his expression tinged with melancholy.
What do you mean by that? Dylan raised an eyebrow, and Lily, standing nearby, appeared visibly confused. Not on good terms with the Kanto League? What could that even mean? Lance is a proud and aloof individual.
He's never gotten along well with the League Council, but the friction has grown significantly over the past 2 years, Charles explained.
Especially after the Celadon City incident.
Some council members accused Lance of letting the Team Rocket boss escape.
The same thing happened after the Saffron City event. They've been using these incidents as ammunition against him.
Charles rubbed his temples in frustration, clearly fatigued by the situation.
That doesn't seem fair. Team Rocket's boss is incredibly strong.
It's not Lance's fault if he couldn't capture him, Lily interjected, her voice tinged with indignation.
Exactly.
No one despises Team Rocket more than Lance. If he could, he'd eliminate their leader without hesitation, she added passionately. Lily vividly recalled the Saffron City event, where Lance had fought the Team Rocket boss to a standstill.
This is more about the ongoing conflict between the Elite Four and the Council.
The Council is using these events as an excuse to criticize Lance, Charles explained with a sigh.
Lance has always been ruthless toward those who harm Pokémon.
Over the years, his resolve to eradicate Team Rocket has only intensified. Unfortunately, this has made him more extreme in his actions, Charles continued. But the root of the problem lies with Team Rocket.
They've crossed too many lines.
I won't hide it from you, my grandson was aboard the SS. And recently, his Darkrai was stolen by Team Rocket.
Charles's brows furrowed deeply, his frustration evident. His tolerance for Team Rocket was wearing thin.
Dylan was momentarily speechless.
Chapter 170, Prison.
Dylan was visiting someone in prison when he heard an unexpected piece of news. Charles Gucho's grandson's Darkrai had been stolen by Team Rocket.
And it happened during the infamous incident aboard the SSN. Dylan's expression turned peculiar. Wasn't that Tobias? Tobias is Charles Gucho's grandson? Wait, the president has a grandson? Dylan asked, his tone filled with surprise. He had never heard of this before.
Yes, Charles Gucho admitted. But as you know, with my position being so prominent, many eyes are constantly on me.
He sighed heavily.
Especially those lawless and deranged criminal organizations. They'll stop at nothing. He continued, looking somewhat ashamed.
So, my grandson was raised in a different region to protect him.
I must confess, I've provided him with quite a bit of support over the years, guided by my own selfish desires.
Dylan nodded understandingly. That's only natural. You're human, and a little favoritism toward family is entirely reasonable. He wasn't surprised.
True selflessness is rare, and at least Charles Gucho was honest about his partiality.
Unfortunately, Charles Gucho sighed again, the boy doesn't have much talent as a trainer.
He even lost his Darkrai to Team Rocket.
Such a pity.
This time, Dylan caught a hint of disappointment, though it was clear Charles Gucho was more regretful of having helped Tobias acquire Darkrai in the first place.
Wow, what a coincidence. My brother has a Darkrai too. Lily chimed in, her innocent words slipping out before she could think twice. Charles Gucho perked up at this revelation. I've heard about that.
Dylan, where did you capture your Darkrai? He asked, curious. Darkrai, after all, is a mythical Pokémon typically found in the Sinnoh region.
Dylan's expression grew odd.
Not to hide anything from you, President, he began, but I got my Darkrai from a Team Rocket base.
Silence.
Charles Gucho froze, his expression stiffening.
Lily, too, was struck speechless. It didn't take much thought to connect the dots. The Darkrai stolen from Tobias by Team Rocket, could it possibly be the same one Dylan had now?
Lily, realizing this, blushed furiously and covered her face in embarrassment. So that's how it is, Charles Goodshow eventually said with a wry smile. It seems this Darkrai has a special connection with you, Dylan. What else could he say? Ask Dylan to return the Darkrai to Tobias? That was out of the question. Charles Goodshow wasn't shameless enough to make such a demand. Tobias lost the Darkrai, and that was the reality. It only proved that Tobias's bond with Darkrai wasn't strong enough. Meanwhile, Dylan had reclaimed and bonded with it, making it his own. How's the Darkrai doing? Charles Goodshow asked. It's quite talented and incredibly hardworking. It's now one of my main team members, Dylan replied with a smile. Even if Charles Goodshow had asked him to return the Darkrai, Dylan would have refused outright. Regardless of its past, Darkrai was his Pokemon now. Dylan was confident that even if Tobias were to show up, Darkrai would still choose to stay with him. That's good to hear. Charles Goodshow nodded, satisfied. His grandson's lack of aptitude as a trainer was becoming increasingly clear. Anyway, back to the matter at hand, Charles Goodshow said, steering the conversation away. Dylan, I hope you can speak with Lance. His pent-up negative emotions are growing stronger, and I'm worried they might one day explode. Dylan nodded thoughtfully. I think I understand your concern. The line between good and evil is never simple. When fighting evil, one risks becoming evil themselves. Charles Goodshow was perceptive enough to notice Lance's descent into obsession. But even as the respected president of the Pokemon League, his words often fell on deaf ears. It wasn't just Lance, though. Lorelei was showing signs of a similar struggle, albeit less severe due to her calm and rational nature. After some more discussion, Dylan and Lily prepared to leave but decided to visit the prison where certain high-profile criminals were held. Hey there, Ariana. Long time no see. I came to visit you. Dylan greeted with a smile, leaning against the iron bars. The red-haired woman inside, who had been reading a book, turned around, her face darkening immediately. Yes, it was Ariana, one of the 4 Rocket executives. Dylan. Ariana's voice was cold. How've you been? The League's food seems decent, and your skin looks healthier now. Honestly, you used to look so pale, like a vampire. Dylan teased. Snap. The pencil in Ariana's hand broke cleanly in two. Lily. Officer Jenny, I refuse to let this man visit me. Ariana said flatly, placing the broken pencil back on the table. Officer Jenny looked uncertainly at Dylan. Ah, Ariana, don't be like that. Aren't we old friends? Dylan replied, feigning innocence. Old friends? Ariana laughed dryly. May I remind you, Dylan, that you're the one who personally threw me into that police car. She gritted her teeth, recalling how she had once been a prominent Rocket executive with dozens of subordinates and the status of an elite trainer. Now, she was stuck eating bland food and forced to read books every day under the guise of self-reflection and moral rehabilitation. Oh, come on. It's for your own good. Being in Team Rocket was far too dangerous. Look at it this way, you've got time to read now. Dylan said earnestly. Don't worry. Soon, I'll bring Archer and Proton here to keep you company. The 3 of you can even play cards together, he added, patting her on the shoulder through the bars. Ariana's dry laughter stopped abruptly as she glared at him, her frustration palpable. Ha, anyone can brag. If you have the guts, bring Char here too, Ariana sneered coldly, trying to provoke him. Mr. Char? It seems, Miss Ariana, that you don't get along well with Mr. Char, Dylan mused, stroking his chin thoughtfully. Char, one of Team Rocket's 3 beasts, was infamous for his short temper, cruelty, and obsession with self-destructive tactics, a notorious hot-headed dwarf. That idiot? Nobody in Team Rocket likes him. Dylan, if you can bring Char in and put him in the room next to mine, I can provide you with some critical intel, Ariana stated coldly. Although her single cell was decent, she was utterly bored. She only had 2 hours a day to stretch her legs, which was driving her crazy. Reading? Yeah, right. Ariana was not the type to sit and read.
Officer Jenny, who had been silently following, widened her eyes and looked at Dylan hopefully. What do you think? Ariana stared at Dylan.
Ariana had no issue with Proton and Archer being captured, they were co-workers, after all.
Chatting with them would pass the time. But that obnoxious little dwarf, Char? She had endured him for far too long. If he got thrown in here, Ariana could mock him for an entire year. Just imagining his frustrated, angry face lifted her spirits significantly. It's not impossible. Rest assured, Miss Ariana, your colleagues will join you soon enough, Dylan replied with a faint smile. I'll visit you again, Miss Ariana. I won't disturb your reading anymore.
Next time, I'll bring some fruit, Dylan said courteously before bowing slightly and leaving with Lily. Officer Jenny, Ariana called out, grabbing the bars as she watched Dylan's figure disappear into the distance, deep in thought.
What is it? Officer Jenny asked, startled. Can you prepare some workout equipment for me? Dumbbells, sandbags, things like that. Officer Jenny looked at Ariana in utter confusion. Why the sudden interest in exercise? Please, I insist. I've come to understand the League's teachings deeply. I'm determined to grow stronger, starting with fitness. Ariana said with utmost seriousness. No, I feel like that's not what you're thinking, Officer Jenny thought skeptically. Still, providing gym equipment wasn't entirely out of the question. As a criminal at an Elite 4 level, Ariana did have some special privileges. Besides, with her Pokémon confiscated and sealed, she was just an ordinary person now. Letting her exercise wouldn't cause any harm. Please agree. Officer Jenny, I'm begging you. This is the most earnest request I've ever made in my life. Ariana pleaded. Fine, but you'll need to add an extra hour of reading each day, Officer Jenny countered, her brows furrowed. Reading? Are you kidding me? Ariana's face darkened. But... All right. I love reading the most, she replied through gritted teeth. All right then, I'll prepare it for you, Officer Jenny said with a satisfied smile as she walked off. Ariana clenched her teeth. What a huge sacrifice. But it didn't matter. She'd use this time to train and, when Char and Petrol got thrown in here, she'd smack them senseless. Char, you'll understand soon enough the advantage of striking first. I'll make you bleed. Dylan, you'd better work hard and bring those fools in quickly so I can use them as my toys. This was Ariana's inner voice. Meanwhile, Dylan and Lily were already riding on Reshiram, heading back to Rhoda. It feels like forever since we've been back, Lily sighed as the majestic white dragon descended at the entrance to Rhoda. The duo dismounted gracefully. It's been less than a week. Don't make it sound like ages, Dylan chuckled, playfully pinching Lily's cheek. Still, seeing the familiar bulletin board of Rhoda brought a sense of nostalgia. Dylan, a surprised young voice called from behind as Dylan and Lily were about to enter. Yo, Mr. Gary. Long time no see, Dylan said enthusiastically, turning to spot none other than Gary. His eyes lit up as he greeted him warmly. Gary, pushing his bike, twitched at the corner of his mouth, especially when his eyes landed on the magnificent, pure white dragon standing next to Dylan. His gaze sharpened, turning crystal clear. After more than a month of intense training, Gary had planned to challenge the Rhoda gym for the 4th time today. But, maybe he should come back another day? That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Quick reminder. What if Dragon Deck user in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal and What If Reborn as a Goku clone will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these 3 fanfics. What if Gacha system in Modern Family World? What if Fusion Deck user in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX? What if Transmigrated in One Piece and becoming a Marine? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top 2 picks and start working on those 2 series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series.
where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.